Okay, let's do ourselves an update here today. All right, we're going to do an update here because I promised everybody that we would be live streaming the State Central Committee meeting yesterday. So we were there live and in person at 10 a.m. and I was going to have a picture. But the second thing is the entire meeting went into executive session, so we couldn't get any. We had to turn the cameras off. Now, I feel sorry for the people that were there yesterday at 10 a.m. because the public was invited, as always. There was, a decent amount of people showed up. Allegiance, and then we prayed. And then the chairman, Alex Triantafilou, said pristine imaging. And we're downstairs in a basement of the Encova building, right there on East Broad Street, right downtown. Big building, Encova Insurance Building. That's where we're located, down in the basement. Can't get a good reception and stuff like that. All right, let's talk about what did take place at the State Central Committee meeting yesterday. And I'm just going to go over it pretty quick here. As far as the most important races that were up, this definitely is one of them. Robert Sprague and Marcel Stribich for Ohio Secretary of State. So what did the committee decide? The committee decided on endorsing in that race, and they decided to go with Robert Sprague over Marcel Stribich. They decided to go with Robert. So Robert Sprague got the endorsement. Now, I know a lot of people don't like that because they say, well, all you guys are doing is putting your thumb on the scale. Let the people decide, okay? Ordinarily, we don't like to endorse, but there are certain races where it's absolutely crucial that we get an endorsement. And I know some people will still say, you can't endorse. And even on the committee, there were a lot of people saying, we can't endorse. And I do want to say this about the committee, okay? You can say what you want, but we had long, lengthy, in-depth discussions on all this stuff. It went on for a long time. So we put a lot of thought into it, and it's not a hasty thing, okay? But in this particular race, again, Robert Sprague and Marcel Stribich, it's like the top of the line. It's the cream of the cake race. Next to the governorship, but we already have Ramaswamy endorsed by the Republican Party. So this is the second highest race. This is a bigger deal, really, than Attorney General, Treasurer, than Auditor, any of those races. This is the big one. And they're going up against a tough opponent, too, which would be Allison Russo, who's going to get lots and lots of cash from the Democrats because they want to take over the voting system. They want to take it over because that's how they want to win elections. And again, we ended up, long discussion, everything, took the votes. Yeah, we do want to endorse, and yeah, we do want to bring Robert Sprague in. So that's what happened in that race. The other race, now you might say, well, Joe, why did you pick Robert Sprague? Let's just talk about that for a minute. Why did we choose Robert Sprague? Robert Sprague's been 15, 20 years with the Republican Party. Strong politicians, excellent donor base. He's got the money. He's currently the state treasurer right now. And to have him slide over to Secretary of State, yeah. Plus everybody, all the committee members, remember there's 66 committee people making the decision here. Maybe only 64, though. We may have had a couple that were not there. But anyhow, everybody knows Robert Sprague. I was really surprised that a lot of people did not know who Marcel Stribich was. Genuinely did not know who he was, and that can cause issues. Marcel doesn't have any political background experience yet, and like we said, this is the top of the echelon of importance. And there were other factors. I'm not going to go into all of them, but there were factors involved there. Let's go to Christina Rogner and Jay Edwards. This is a race where the party decided not to endorse. which again was a little surprising to me because at first I thought, yeah, Christina Rogner probably would get the nod. But no, this was decided that there would be no endorsements in this race. Let the best man or woman win. So we'll have those two duke it out. And this is for the treasurer position to see how they are going to invest our excess funds in the state of Ohio so that we make a profit on it. I'll tell you what, we got ourselves a chat. Let's see. Time to get lifetime politicians out. I know what you're saying, but it is time. If we can get lifetime politicians out who deserve to be out, yeah. And I understand what you're saying. You're talking about a lot of the musical chairs that we play at the top of the state, and that can cause wearisome. That could be wearisome for everybody. But remember that if you get a Democrat in there, it's 100 times worse. So you got to play. It's a game of give and take. On the one hand, you want somebody in there who you know can win. At the other hand, you want the best person in there. On the other hand, you want to go with the seasoned pro. On the other hand, you want to not dilute enthusiasm. You don't want to dilute enthusiasm. And sometimes bringing on a fresh face will spark, people, the grassroots people, to get to the polls. Because the only way we lose in November, of course, this is the primary we're talking about now, but when November comes, the only way the Republicans lose statewide and across the whole nation is if people are not motivated to get out there and vote. So we're hoping that happens. Anyhow, let's get back to these two here. All right, so, Jay Edwards, he was one of the Blue 22, so there might be some animosity about that, and that clearly was brought up. Christina Rogner has a clear slate, but, both of them have impeccable endorsements. And Jay Edwards had the endorsement of our vice president, J.D. Vance. I mean, that holds a lot of weight. That holds a lot of weight. When you've got an Ohioan who was senator and now is VP and could become president, he's representing MAGA to a certain extent. Bernie Moreno also endorsed Jay Edwards. Now, Christina Rogner had, Rob McCauley and I think Matt Huffman, and she had a list, a long list of high quality endorsements. So that's kind of, a lot of back and forth, but it's a threshold to endorse was very high. And at the State Central Committee, we have it legitimately very high because we're trying not to endorse too often. You got to get the 44 votes out of 66. I think there were only 64 people. So you got to get 44 votes no matter what. And that's a tough threshold. Didn't quite get there for this race. So those two will have to knock heads and try to figure out, let the best man or woman win there. It is important to get the endorsement. Why is it so important? Well, you get bragging rights for one thing, but you also get to be on the slate card. And that's really important because it calls attention to you, especially to voters who are not that informed, that are going to the polls, which is most of the people. They just don't know who to vote for. Now, that's, you might say, well, if you're a Republican, you vote for Republican. Yeah, but we're talking primary here, so you got multiple Republicans. And with that, you got to know, well, which one is the better one to vote for? Just be honest. Let's see what you got to say here. I'm always interested in chats. All right. Just be honest that money is the drive. Freaking people need to get educated and vote. Yep. People got to get educated. People got to get out there and vote. And that is the one thing that has me biting my fingernails a little bit, especially come November. We've got to get the Republican base motivated to get out there and vote. These midterms are so crucial. We cannot afford to lose the House so that, I'm talking, nationwide, so that Trump becomes a lame duck president. We certainly don't want that to happen. You also get the party's voter database if you get the endorsement, which is huge. You get field staff support. You get a bulk mail permit. You get other perks, and it helps tremendously. You got all 88 Republican county chairmen pushing for you. So the endorsement is huge. To get the endorsement, no question about it. When at the committee also, let's just go through it here for a minute. So some of the top candidates are unopposed, and we got a few of them here. We have at the very, very top things like Keith Faber. He's running for Attorney General. So Dave Yost, Dave Yost is termed out. So his seat has to be vacated. Now, a lot of these guys have been playing musical chairs at the top. Keith Faber is currently our auditor, statewide candidate. He is the auditor of Ohio, and now he's going to move and become Attorney General. He's got to take on that role. He's unopposed, so obviously he gets the endorsement. And Frank LaRose, who's Secretary of State, he's going to move on now to become the auditor. Okay. And he's unopposed. All right. And, of course, we already have Ramaswamy in there as governor. At the meeting, we always get a handout we get one from Rob McCauley and we get one from Matt Huffman. And this is a endorsement slate. So this is who they want us to endorse, and we just usually endorse their list. And some people will say, well, if you're endorsing their list, then you just a rubber stamp for Matt Huffman or Rob McCauley. Yeah, in a way, but also they're the ones who know the candidates better than we do. How are we going to know all 99 state reps, and how are we going to say, well, we should do all of them except this one? It makes it very, very difficult, although that can happen. That can happen. So when you started off, the first group here was the everybody who was running unopposed incumbents. So if you're an incumbent and you're running unopposed, it's pretty easy to give you the nod and endorse you, of course. Then you have the legislative races, and these are the incumbents, but they have somebody running against them. There weren't that many. For instance, in the House, we had a list of 6 that actually had an opponent in the primary. You have Brian Stewart, Rodney Creech, Brian Lorenz, Gene Schmidt, Brian Lampton, Gary Click. Now, they did leave out 2 of them, Ron Ferguson and Stevens. Those 2 were left off. In the case of Stevens, he was the head of the Blue 22, and so we actually endorsed his opponent, Larry Kidd. I kid you not, Larry Kidd got endorsed instead of Jason Stevens. And, that's just, again, there's a lot of animosity with what took place with the Blue 22. He was the ringleader, and that really set the Republican Party back. So there's still some old wounds that haven't quite healed yet with that. Now, Ron Ferguson is a different animal altogether. There was a lot of discussion about trying to bring Ron Ferguson into the fold so that he would get the endorsement as well. But again, it's a high threshold. You got to get 44 votes. And he came close to that, but he did not get it. So he was left off. Then you move on to unopposed non-incumbents. There's quite a few of these. We had the slate there. Let's So there really isn't. Those races are pretty straightforward, kind of boring, and nobody really knows. Knows. I mean, if you're your personal state rep, but nobody else does, and things like that. And I guess that's the way it should be, right? That's the way it should be. So anyhow, it was a very fruitful meeting. Republican Party is alive and well. We get a lot of criticism. There is a lot of criticism with the state central committee saying, you guys, you bunch of rhinos. It's not that way at all. It really isn't. It was a good meeting. There is not filled with rhinos. It's different. It was at one time. You go back about 10, 12 years. Yeah, the whole committee was a bunch of rhinos. It ain't like that now. Trump has really caused a stir. The MAGA movement has caused a stir. There's a lot to be excited about. Get on board with this Republican Party because we got to make it happen. We have got to make it happen. All right, that's it for the update. Hey, we'll be talking to you soon. Take care and God bless. See you. Bye.